Welcome back. And earlier today, it was business as usual for the Princess of Wales as she visited a nursery in Luton as part of her early years development work. The engagement was her first solo appearance since the release of Harry's spiteful Spare, which was jam-packed with personal attacks against her and Prince William. So while Kate admirably carries out her duties, the dim-witted Duke is in diplomatic hot water with the despotic regime of Iran using his Taliban kill count revelation to help justify the execution of a detained British Iranian, Alireza Akbari. But even though Harry continues to damage the reputation of Britain and the monarchy, King Charles is reportedly eyeing reconciliation talks even before his coronation in May. Well, my next guest, Meghan Markle's biographer and one of the country's top journalists, Tom Bower, received word that at a recent private dinner for friends hosted by the King and Queen Consort at Clarence House, guests were shocked by His Majesty's reluctance to confront his tearaway son. So, Tom, great to have you. You say the King could be treading a dangerous path because Harry and Meghan will settle for nothing less than total capitulation and victory. What have you learned?
When Harry showed up to King Charles's coronation completely alone, leaving Meghan behind in California, it sent a crystal-clear message to the world. This wasn't about Archie's birthday party or family priorities. This was Meghan making a calculated decision to avoid the humiliation she knew was waiting for her on British soil. Royal expert Tom Bower didn't hold back when he called Meghan a toxic presence for Britain, and honestly, after everything that's happened, can you really blame him? The woman who claimed she was silenced by the royal family suddenly chose silence when it actually mattered. She knew exactly what would happen if she stepped foot in Westminster Abbey. Think about it. Meghan's entire strategy has been about controlling the narrative from thousands of miles away in Montecito.
Well, Dan, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, William and Kate have been utterly humiliated and insulted. First by Meghan herself in the Oprah Winfrey interview, and now again in Spare, the book. And the idea that William should in any way seek reconciliation, apologize to Harry and Meghan for anything, these inventions that the Montecito hucksters have delivered about the Prince and Princess of Wales is absurd. And I think here we see a definite division between Prince William and his father. Prince William will in no way want to apologize to Harry for his invented allegations about Kate and William not treating the couple properly, and will fear that if his father in any way seeks reconciliation, of course, the Montecito couple will certainly not accept just a simple apology. They'll want something that's actually groveling, absolute capitulation, which will damage the monarchy even more than it has so far been.
Indeed, and shouldn't Tom Charles take a bit of a lesson from how Harry and Meghan responded to Jeremy Clarkson's apology this week? Because look, that was completely grovelling. It was bootlicking in its desperation to beg for forgiveness. And not only did they not accept the apology, Tom, they released a public statement trying to effectively end the career of Jeremy Clarkson forevermore. And they may well be successful on that front in the woke media, looking at where ITV and where Amazon is at. But I think they would do a very similar thing to Charles and to William. If they think that one apology is going to end this campaign of destruction from the Sussexes, I think they're very naive.
She's built her brand on being the victim, the outsider, the one who was supposedly mistreated. But showing up to the coronation would have shattered that carefully crafted image in real time. The truth is, Meghan couldn't handle facing the British public after everything she's said and done. Remember the Platinum Jubilee? The awkward moments, the cold shoulders from family members who once welcomed her, the visible tension every time cameras caught her. She learned her lesson then and there. Royal insiders knew she'd never show up. The palace reportedly set conditions they hoped she'd refuse, and she played right into their hands. Why? Because being there meant playing second fiddle to Kate.
Well, Dan, good evening. Well, I think the problem is that Charles hates confrontation throughout his whole life. He has made his best to avoid challenging people who might in some way harm him. And he's scared. He's scared of Harry, especially now when Harry claims that there's another 400 pages of his memoirs which have not been published. And Harry is able, in my view, to really damage Charles by releasing more information or inventions and lies about the problems with Diana, with Camilla, and his relationship with Kate and William. And I'm afraid that the king, instead of seeing that surrender is the worst policy to pursue, has made it clear to his close friends that he'd prefer to find some sort of reconciliation and settlement with Harry and Meghan. And that, of course, in my view, would spell doom and disaster for the monarchy.
I think it's absolute madness. I mean, surely, Tom, this is not something that Prince William is going to go along with.
Curtsying to people she's publicly criticized, and facing crowds who remember every interview, every accusation, every betrayal. Harry's brief 24-hour appearance was damage control. He's still fifth in line to the throne, still technically part of the succession. But even he knew his wife would be a distraction, a lightning rod for negative attention that would overshadow the entire ceremony.
And this is blackmail, Tom. I think you're absolutely right to call it that. I did earlier in the week. The interview in the Daily Telegraph was nothing short of emotional blackmail on a global scale. Your solution to this is fascinating, though. You actually think that William really needs to be on the front foot and potentially even speak out publicly. Is that right?
Yes, that's right, Dan. I think that once the publicity campaign of Harry's to promote his book dies out, which obviously it will at some stage, only William can make a seasoned and reasonable statement to the world to assert the following fundamental facts: that Meghan was warmly welcomed in Britain, that everyone in the royal family tried their very, very hardest to make her feel at home and accommodate her, but that unfortunately Meghan only wanted to be the star and made it impossible for her and the royal family to collaborate and coexist. I think in the end they're going to have to somehow publish the report into the investigation of Meghan's alleged bullying of her staff in Kensington Palace. And I think that William has to say that the monarchy of Britain is not there to be a target for people who want to make money and gain publicity from attacking them. William is the right man to make it. It should not be an interview, but a statement in a regal manner and a normal and considered manner. But I think that is the way for them somehow and to draw a line under these attacks and humiliate the Sussexes to stop their campaign.
And I think William would do a very good job of that. You will remember his statement against the BBC after the findings of the Martin Bashir interview were released, and it was very regal. It was very sophisticated, and I think William would do well doing that. Can we just talk a little bit about some of the fallout from the revelations in Spare? Of course, Harry wants to blame the British press when it comes to his kill count revelation having ramifications. But just this week, we've seen the despotic Iranian regime using it to try and justify a despicable execution.
So he went alone, sat in the back, and left immediately. Meghan's absence wasn't maternal devotion. It was pure self-preservation. She's smart enough to know that her global recognition and victim narrative work better from a distance. Up close, facing real consequences and real reactions from real people, the facade falls apart completely. The coronation could have been about healing, about moving forward, about the monarchy's future. Instead, it became another chapter in the Sussex soap opera, another reminder of how they've weaponized their royal connections while simultaneously rejecting royal responsibilities. King Charles's biggest mistake was even considering including them in the official materials. You can't attack the institution, accuse it of racism, and then expect a warm welcome back.
Well, this is the sadness of the stupidity of Prince Harry. He doesn't understand the terrible consequences of many of his allegations and accusations and, unfortunately, misrepresentations and lies in his book. Now, in the case of the 25 Taliban he claims to have killed, it was a very, very foolish thing of him to have actually said that to his ghostwriter. The ghostwriter, of course, was looking for anything to sex up the book. And he didn't think about the consequences. I think Harry has put not only himself, but every Briton now in some sort of danger of retaliation. It's a very sensitive situation. And it's just one tiny example of the huge damage that Harry has caused by his book. He has undermined colossally the status of the royal family, but in this case, in the case of the Taliban, he has now increased the danger to himself. I don't think he realized, nor did, of course, Meghan, who is behind this whole thing, what the consequence would be of making this statement. I mean, it was a very, very dangerous thing to do, because we've seen what happened to Salman Rushdie. 10, 20 years after the fatwa was issued, he's still, in the end, there's always some lunatic who's willing to carry it out. It's hard to see how Harry is going to escape the dangers that he's created himself.
That's not how loyalty works, and it's definitely not how the British public sees it. What's really telling is how Meghan's supporters frame this as a win. They're calling it strategic, smart, evolved. But strategy based on avoiding accountability isn't growth, it's just better crisis management. She's not taking the high road, she's taking the safe road. The polls might show young people and diverse communities still support her, but public opinion in Britain tells a different story. The boos at the Jubilee, the cold reception, the obvious family tensions, all of it painted a clear picture of what her coronation experience would have been. When Prince Harry arrived at King Charles's coronation completely alone, leaving Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, behind in sunny California, the message resonated across the globe with crystal clarity. This wasn't merely about Archie's 4th birthday party, nor was it primarily about prioritizing family celebrations over royal duty. This was, unequivocally, Meghan Markle making a shrewd and calculated decision to deliberately sidestep the palpable humiliation she instinctively knew was awaiting her on British soil. Her absence spoke volumes, far louder than any statement she could have released. Royal expert Tom Bower, known for his no-holds-barred commentary, didn't mince words when he emphatically labeled Meghan a toxic presence for Britain. And frankly, after the relentless stream of accusations, revelations, and public spats that have unfolded over the past few years, can anyone genuinely blame him for that assessment? The very woman who so vociferously claimed she was silenced by the royal family, who aired grievances about her treatment on a global stage, suddenly chose a profound and convenient silence precisely when her physical presence would have truly mattered. She knew, with absolute certainty, the volatile reception that awaited her if she were to step foot inside the hallowed halls of Westminster Abbey on that historic day. Consider the underlying strategy that has defined Meghan's public persona. Her entire approach has been meticulously constructed around controlling the narrative, primarily from the comfortable distance of thousands of miles away in Montecito. She has painstakingly built her brand on the foundation of being the perpetually wronged victim, the misunderstood outsider, the one supposedly mistreated by an archaic institution. However, a live, unscripted appearance at the coronation would have irrevocably shattered that meticulously crafted image in real time, under the unforgiving glare of international cameras and the scrutiny of the very public she has so often criticized. The stark truth is that Meghan simply could not stomach the idea of directly facing the British public after the deluge of accusations and revelations she has unleashed. Recall the palpable discomfort of the Platinum Jubilee a mere year prior, the undeniably awkward moments, the distinctly cold shoulders from family members who had once extended an effusive welcome, the visible tension etched on her face every time cameras caught a candid glimpse. That experience served as a potent, indelible lesson. She understood then and there the full extent of the public's sentiment, and the coronation would have magnified it tenfold. Royal insiders, privy to the subtle machinations within palace walls, harbored little doubt that Meghan would ultimately choose not to attend. There were widespread reports that the palace, anticipating her likely refusal, subtly set forth certain conditions they hoped she would reject. In a surprising turn of events, she played directly into their hands. Why? Because being physically present would have necessitated playing an undeniable second fiddle to the Duchess of Cambridge, Princess Catherine, a woman she has seemingly sought to overshadow or diminish. It would have meant performing curtsies to individuals she has publicly disparaged and accused. Most dauntingly, it would have meant facing vast crowds of British citizens who acutely remember every single interview, every pointed accusation, and every perceived betrayal she has levied against the monarchy and its members. Prince Harry's brief, almost surgical 24-hour appearance was, in essence, a strategic exercise in damage control. Despite the controversies, he remains fifth in line to the throne, still tangibly part of the succession. Yet, even he, arguably still deeply devoted to his wife, understood that her presence would be an insurmountable distraction, a lightning rod for an overwhelming torrent of negative attention that would overshadow the solemnity and significance of the entire coronation ceremony. So, he went alone, relegated to a seat several rows back, and departed immediately after the proceedings, a clear indicator of the delicate tightrope he walks between his family and his wife. Meghan's conspicuous absence was not, as some of her ardent supporters attempted to frame it, a heartwarming act of maternal devotion. It was, at its core, an act of pure, unadulterated self-preservation. She possesses the keen intelligence to recognize that her global recognition, inextricably linked to her carefully cultivated victim narrative, functions far more effectively and safely from a considerable distance. Up close, when confronted with the tangible consequences of her actions and the unfiltered reactions from real people, the meticulously constructed facade of victimhood, the narrative of being an innocent target, would inevitably collapse completely. The king's coronation could have served as a pivotal moment for healing, a symbolic step towards moving forward, a powerful affirmation of the monarchy's enduring future. Instead, it became yet another tumultuous chapter in the ongoing Sussex soap opera, another stark reminder of how Prince Harry and Meghan have consistently weaponized their royal connections and titles for personal gain, while simultaneously and unequivocally rejecting the fundamental responsibilities and duties that accompany them. Their actions have created an almost irreconcilable paradox. King Charles III's most significant misstep, in hindsight, was even entertaining the notion of including them in the official coronation materials or extending a formal invitation. One cannot relentlessly attack an institution, accuse its members of deeply damaging racism and prejudice, and then reasonably expect a warm, welcoming embrace back into the fold. That simply isn't how loyalty functions, nor is it how the vast majority of the British public perceives such actions. The concept of having your cake and eating it too has never been more aptly demonstrated. What is perhaps most telling is the way Meghan's most vocal supporters have attempted to spin her absence as an unequivocal win. They laud it as strategic, smart, and even evolved. However, a strategy predicated on the avoidance of accountability, on sidestepping direct confrontation with the consequences of one's words and actions, is not genuine growth. It is merely a more sophisticated form of crisis management. She isn't nobly taking the high road. She is quite plainly taking the safest, least confrontational road available. While some polls might indicate continued support among younger demographics and certain diverse communities globally, public opinion within Britain itself narrates a vastly different and far more critical story. The undeniable boos heard during the Platinum Jubilee, the palpable cold reception, and the painfully obvious family tensions that were impossible to ignore, all collectively painted an unvarnished, crystal-clear picture of precisely what her coronation experience would have been. Her absence was less about protecting Archie's privacy and more about protecting her own carefully constructed, yet fragile, public image.
Well, I agree with you. Putting the Jeremy Clarkson issue to aside, of course, what the palace believes is that if they secretly negotiate a peace deal with the Sussexes, they can both make a statement and that'll be it. But of course, you can't trust Meghan and Harry. That's the point. Even if you think you've got a deal, and that I don't believe that is possible, but if you think you have, the palace will be shocked that they will renege immediately because they have no advantage of reconciliation. They've got no advantage of ending their vendetta against the Windsors and against Britain. Their whole financial future is tied up in publishing more revelations, accusations, and all the rest. So I don't see that the palace should even begin to in any way seek a deal or apologize like Jeremy Clarkson did, at least, not that. But what they need to do is face up to the blackmail that's coming from California and in some way or other undermine Harry's and Meghan's credibility. Well, Dan, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, William and Kate have been utterly humiliated and insulted. First by Meghan herself in the Oprah Winfrey interview, and now again in Spare, the book. And the idea that William should in any way seek reconciliation, apologize to Harry and Meghan for anything, these inventions that the Montecito hucksters have delivered about the Prince and Princess of Wales is absurd. And I think here we see a definite division between Prince William and his father. Prince William will in no way want to apologize to Harry for his invented allegations about Kate and William not treating the couple properly, and will fear that if his father in any way seeks reconciliation, of course, the Montecito couple will certainly not accept just a simple apology. They'll want something that's actually groveling, absolute capitulation, which will damage the monarchy even more than it has so far been.
Indeed, and shouldn't Tom Charles take a bit of a lesson from how Harry and Meghan responded to Jeremy Clarkson's apology this week? Because look, that was completely grovelling. It was bootlicking in its desperation to beg for forgiveness. And not only did they not accept the apology, Tom, they released a public statement trying to effectively end the career of Jeremy Clarkson forevermore. And they may well be successful on that front in the woke media, looking at where ITV and where Amazon is at. But I think they would do a very similar thing to Charles and to William. If they think that one apology is going to end this campaign of destruction from the Sussexes, I think they're very naive.